spring was never waiting for us, dear listeners. It ran one step ahead, and we followed in the dance. We, the Disenfranchised podcast, followed in the dance. That's right, that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film, except when we get it the fuck wrong.
I was about to say, hold on, Steven, wait a minute. What are you talking about? That's not what we're talking about.
That is normally what we do here, except 4 years ago, Brett, you and I talked about a little movie from the 80s called Beetlejuice. And Tim Burton, in his infinite fucking wisdom, decided to cash in with a sequel. And so we promised all the way back in 2020, that cursed year that is still cursing us to this day with sequels to Beetlejuice, that we would cover any sequel to any movie that we'd ever cover that ever comes out. And this is the first time we have ever had to make good on that promise. Ladies and gentlemen and others, welcome to Re-Enfranchised, the podcast where we get it the fuck wrong, where we admit, like the grown-ups that we are, that we got it wrong.
Speak for yourself, Steven.
Hey, fuck you.
Grown-ups. LOL.
You married the fuck into this.
Oh, you're right, I did.
And so, yeah, that's us. We got it wrong. So I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy. Joining me, as always, the man who knows how to leave a cake out in the rain. It's Tucker. Hey, Tucker, how's it going?
Hi, Steven. How are you doing?
I am okay. I'm
K-O-derf.
okay. Yep, that's me. And also joining us today, back for his third episode in a row. Don't call it a comeback.
We're not anymore at this point.
I mean, at this point, he's just back, right? Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah, right, Brett?
Let's be honest. I don't think that he can take it because it took him so long to bake it, and he'll never have that recipe again. It's the great Brett Wright. Brett, how we doing, man?
I'm doing all right. This really is just a brand new world. You introduced Tucker before me. It's a completely new show.
I mean,
it's weird. I don't know how to feel now.
I'm sorry.
Everything's turned on its head.
Age before beauty, Brett.
That's true. You're right.
You're the pretty one.
Is a topsy-turvy world we live in. And this is how topsy and turvy it is. We're covering a new release sequel. We're covering a movie that came out in theaters last weekend as of the air date of this podcast. This weekend, as of the recording, we don't even have box office information yet because
we all saw it in previews.
Right. No,
we were the Wednesday, Thursday crowd.
I went Friday, but yeah.
Oh, well, except for Steven.
But yeah, that's where we are right now. So that having been said, I'm just going to get this out of the way right quick. We're going to spoil the shit out of 2024's Beetlejuice, the sequel to Tim Burton's 1988 classic Beetlejuice. And so if you want to avoid the spoiler talk that is definitely going to be coming in the next few minutes, pause this, go watch the Beetlejuice, and come back to this when you're done. If you don't care about spoilers, then do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not your mom.
No. There were a few genuinely surprising things in this film. Mm-hmm. So, you should probably go see it. I mean,
preserve your experience if you care about that.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Some people don't.
Watch. If you're a fan of the original, you should totally go see it.
Absolutely.
It's worth seeing. Did I like it? No. Am I glad I saw it? Yes.
There it is. Yeah. That's kind of where we are.
I'm still processed. I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, there are things I liked. There are things I didn't. And I feel like the didn't kind of outweighs the did just a little bit.
So much.
So it depends how I'm feeling when I think about it.
And that's fine.
The good outweighs the bad, and sometimes the bad outweighs the good. And I should have gave this 2.5 stars because it's right down the freaking middle. But
and that's where I landed. Spoilers for the end of this episode.
I do think that it ends up being at a 3. Spoilers for my rating later, but I landed on a 3. There's more good than bad. I think really, if I were to make a decision, gun to my head, it'd be more good than bad. But it's real close. It's real close.
Okay. So you're at 2.75 territory. 2.8.
2.8. Yeah. So we'll just round that up to 3.
There you go. Yeah, might as well at that point. So we went and saw this weekend. You guys saw it Thursday. I saw it Friday. What just initial impressions of Beetlejuice?
Well, who you asking?
Whoever wants to talk first.
Well,
Tucker,
I
you
always
already
want to talk,
started, so go.
yeah, I always want to talk.
I know, that's why you're on a podcast.
So my favorite part of this movie was the opening credits.
Mine too, probably.
Because it was
nostalgia vibes.
Yeah,
Right.
like, and I'm not, I'm not like kind of the opposite of Brett, where I'm just not a nostalgia guy at all. Like I fall victim to it, but you have to drag me into it kicking and screaming, basically. And the beginning of this movie, though, I kind of started to tear up just a little bit.
Me too.
Just a little bit, because that David Geffen logo came up, and then the titles were the same, and I saw all those names, and I was like, I know all those people. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the opening credits. The rest of the movie, I guess, whatever. Like, there's so many parts during it where I'm like, I just don't fucking care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who gives a shit about any of this? Like, it's one of those movies that I could have walked out at any time and not given a fuck if anybody had ever told me how it resolved. Like, I don't care. I don't fucking care. But what I did like, which is what I should have not liked because it was the biggest, like, callback, like, recycled thing in the film, was the musical sequence. But I did like it because it was like they took the musical sequence from Beetlejuice and mixed it with the end of Manhunter. And wowzers, like the instrumental to MacArthur Park is playing and all the ghost cops are coming up to the thing, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, oh shit, Manhunter, here we go. Let's go. Let's go. I really dug that. The fact that it wasn't just like, they expanded upon it is what I'm saying. They took the simple idea of like a poltergeist controlling people and making them dance and sing to a song, which I thought was way less convincing this time, though, for some reason. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it's the way it was shot, but I didn't believe it like I did in the first one, that they were like singing and stuff. But I did appreciate the cops approaching and everything during the instrumental parts of MacArthur Park, though I couldn't stop thinking that I'd hear a dinosaur roar at some point, because in the Weird Al version, that's where all the dinosaurs roar, is during the instrumental part. Roar. Yeah, all that stuff, yeah. But other than that, I really didn't like it. I thought everybody, I think what this film suffered from was a really, 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 really ridiculously bad script, because everything else about this movie is fine. Like, Tim Burton the direction is great. I think the cinematography is good. The colors are, I think they do their best to kind of match the aesthetic of the first, though I think that was kind of lightning in a bottle. But I think Catherine O'Hara was fantastic. I thought Winona Ryder was good. All the returning cast was good. I like how they handled Jeffrey Jones not being there, where the only time you saw his face, he was animated. Well, right. and how did this get a PG-13? This was gory as fuck.
Really,
this
fucking
is an
gory.
R. It's an R. I'm gonna say it. Maybe the MPAA was like, oh, it's Beetlejuice 2, PG-13, whatever.
If they hadn't bleeped that second fuck, then it would have been an R.
Kind of took me out of it, because like
100%.
if they had made a joke out of it being beeped, like somehow made some sort of fourth wall joke about it, it would have been funny. But I know they just did it so they didn't get an R.
Exactly.
And they even covered his face. Like, what is the unrated cut just gonna be able to see his mouth saying it and him actually saying it?
Yep.
And honestly, they could have cut that out, because the fuck they did drop was fantastic.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you could have easily made that a hell or shit. Like, you could have easily made that anything else, but you decided to bleep it. That I don't like it. It's a choice. It's just not a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
I have things to say to all of that, but I want to like make sure we come to a lot of that stuff organically.
No, I also wanted to say that I thought that Michael Keaton was good, but they didn't give him anything to do, and because I think they were afraid of hurting him because he's so old. because he is old Beetlejuice in this. He barely
Yeah.
moves at all.
Uh-huh.
Like he is in the first one, he is a kinetic ball of energy. He's a fucking Looney Tune
Yeah.
in the first one, and in this one, he's just kind of walking around. I mean, he's Beetlejuice, but he's like if he's sleeping with Prince Valium tonight in this movie. Beetlejuice is, and it sucks because I just saw the Wired autocomplete interview with Michael Keaton,
Mhm.
and the man is 73 years old, and he's very animated in that video.
Yeah.
He could have been jumping around all over the place. Probably not as much as the original, but they don't like. They really like tranquilized him, like somebody behind Michael Keaton the whole shoot, like tranquilizer dart.
The way
Oh,
that
he's
they
getting crazy.
and they film him in
Tranquilized.
such a way that you're like, we're trying to get as much as we can out of like close-ups and like dollies in. Like there's very few like full body like stunt work things done. Like you get the upper half of him a lot, or you'll get like a shot of his feet, but very rarely are you seeing his full body doing something outrageous in this movie.
I think
the man was 72 making this film.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear.
I think the only thing that holds us back almost as much as the script is some of the decisions that Tim Burton makes. I like the stop motion animation showing Charles Dietz's death and everything. That was cool. And then when Beetlejuice is telling the story of his first wife, which is a really grand story for something that doesn't end up being shit in the plot until the end. And how do you waste Homegirl from The Matrix Reloaded? Like, damn, how do you waste her? But they did. They gave her a really great introduction, and then after that, you're like, oh, this girl, who gives a fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's sucking Danny DeVito's soul out? Okay, cool. Well, we got to see Danny DeVito. Didn't know he was in this, surprisingly. But yeah, the whole part where he was doing that in Spanish and it sounded like it was in a record and everything, that was cool, but it was a weird choice that just didn't fit the way all the weird choices in the original fit. It felt like Tim Burton was trying really hard to be old Tim Burton. And like, I commend him for that. I respect everybody in this movie for doing what they did, and I respect them for trying something different. They didn't just shoot this script through the fan service machine. You know, they really tried to make something that, while staying true to the original and hitting a few of those beats, was essentially its own thing. And I respect that, but I still didn't like the movie. That's my 2 cents, or 75 cents, or
I was going to say I think we're up to about $3.50 at this point.
That's my $15 worth right there. 20 for inflation.
Inflation's a son of a bitch.
Yeah, it really is.
Brett, what are your initial Beetlejuice thoughts?
Oh boy. Well, so it looks like it's going to fall on me to be the positive voice.
You don't have to be. You just say whatever you feel, man.
But look, man, I feel like I have to be because
That's on you then.
Well, sure, it is. I'm not saying it's not.
I feel like he's saying it is, actually.
Is he?
Well, yeah. Because if I am pretty much 50-50 on good and bad, you two are on the bad, so I gotta pick up the slack and tell people what's good about this movie, I suppose.
That's true.
Otherwise, they're not going to want to go see it.
So we did recommend it, even though we didn't like it. I recommend it.
No. That's what we call a mixed message.
Really weird recommendation, but yeah, you're probably not going to like this, but you should definitely see it.
I mean, he said he didn't like it, but he's glad he saw it. And no, look,
absolutely.
Your mileage may vary. Not everything we like is something you're going to like. Like, take it with a grain of salt. I read critics that I don't agree with all the time.
For me, it's like, I wish that I hadn't paid $20 to go see it at the theater, when I probably would have enjoyed it more if I had just sat at home and watched it on streaming in 3 months.
And that's kind of where I fell. Like, if I didn't have to watch it for this, I would have waited till it hit streaming, and I would have been probably fine with that experience, and probably would have said, glad I didn't pay $20 to see this in theaters.
Wow.
But here we are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Brett.
Sorry, Brett. Anyway.
No, it's fine. Whereas I was happy to see it opening weekend. Look, it's up there and one of my favorite movies of all time. So had I not gone to see it opening weekend, what kind of a fan would I be? So that's why I had to do it. Let's not talk about Frozen Empire and how long I waited to see it. but that's neither here nor there. Um,
Look, you brought that up. I didn't know, so I wasn't going to say anything. So
I thought I'd mentioned that at some point on the podcast already. Maybe I did. Maybe
I've
I
slept since then.
So have I. But anyway,
I have not.
We know.
Look, you've been very busy. That makes sense. All right, so the movie. I agree with a decent amount of what Tucker said. I think the movie is very disjointed. The writing is pretty bad. A lot of stuff doesn't make any sense. It doesn't go anywhere. Because like the original is like the one very straightforward storyline, and this one has like 5 different storylines going on all at the same time, and none of them really matter.
And the first one moves at such a breakneck pace too, and this one just seems to slog along the entire time. Sorry to interrupt, Brett, but you made me think of that.
Yeah,
the original, it's like Back to the Future, where like every second counts. Nothing is wasted in the original. Like it just barrels through like a fucking freight train.
Yeah, but I don't know if I ever thought it dragged at all. It was just more like it's like there was just too much going on. Like,
yeah,
and I didn't laugh as much as I expected to, but I did laugh. There were some pretty funny parts.
me too.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I'm gonna have a problem with is like the original gives you just enough logic to understand how the afterlife in this universe works. This one gives you too much, and now I have too many questions because it doesn't make any sense. Now I'm asking questions that you probably don't have answers to, Tim Burton, and you shouldn't have done that.
Well, and they don't even try to explain it. It's like the kid that killed his parents. Like he's just like, well, I take you with me, and then like something happens, and like you're dead, and I'm not. We don't know what. I'm getting my passport stamped. I guess that's part of it. I suppose. Who knows?
Say these words in this order. We walk through this door, and I'm alive, and you're not.
Yeah.
No. This is one of those situations where like I say none of it makes sense, but the one example you guys bring up is explained. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's in the handbook. He explains how it works. They explain what happens. Like,
that handbook is used for a lot of hand waving in this movie, though.
It's a lot thicker in this movie too. I don't know if you noticed, about twice as thick.
Right.
It's a huge old MacGuffin.
And it's been 35 years, so they've sure they have expanded editions, updated editions. Like travel guides, you get the updated editions, and there's forwards and afterwards.
There's a whole chapter on how to deal with Beetlejuice too. So
nice. Well, that's probably a new one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The Maitlands probably added that one when they loopholed their way out of their house.
Exactly.
Wait, there's a whole section about Beetlejuice. Where does it say that in the movie?
No, I'm riffing.
Oh, okay. I thought you were legitimately saying there was.
No,
something.
Nope. Just bebopping and scatting all over the place.
You said it so matter of factly.
You
said it so matter of factly. I was like, well, did I miss something? But yeah, it's like one of my biggest ones going, what was the Soul Train before the 70s? What was it? Like, did it just not have a theme?
That's my guess.
Maybe that's what it was. Like, it was just a really boring. And then when Soul Train came along, the afterlife was like, hey, we have an actual Soul Train.
It was just a regular ghost train. And then it becomes a Soul Train later. Yeah. Once they have the real world theming, someone from that show dies and's like, guys, I've got to tell you about this thing we have up on Earth now. And they're like, you know what? Fuck it. It's that from now on.
Plus,
the conductor, isn't he the host of Soul Train? He's supposed to be.
He's supposed to be. Yeah, I think so.
So that may have been what happened.
There you go.
Well, I was
when he died, everyone got really excited. He's here. He can lead the Soul Train now.
Let's make it official. Also, Tim Burton had to find a place to put all the people of color in this movie because otherwise there wouldn't have been any. Much like the first one.
Oof.
So,
I mean, it is a Tim Burton movie. Let's be real.
Yep.
He
Yup.
loves his people pale, Tim Burton.
He really does.
That's not a remark on his political beliefs at all, just
No.
his general aesthetic.
His aesthetic preferences, yes.
Yes. Everybody
Sure.
real pale in them Tim Burton movies.
Real pale. Pale or blue?
Yes.
Blue.
And there's no in between.
Was
Nope.
that's another question. Why are some dead people blue? Why are some not? And like in the original, it's sort of implied that if you kill yourself, you're a servant in the afterlife, but that doesn't seem to be the actual case.
Well, there's a headline on the newspaper about a civil servant strike. So my guess is like the hot dog on a stick lady is just a scab.
Mm,
Oh, okay. Look at that environmental storytelling.
because if she knew now what
What
she
she
knew
knew
then, she wouldn't have had her little accident.
And I see in that joke in the original pays off really well with the you hear what happens when people commit suicide in the afterlife, they become civil servants, and then all the injuries of everyone working in civil service make total sense, like the guy that throws himself in front of the car, the lady who slit her own throat and smoke's coming out of her neck, like it all makes sense at that point, but that doesn't correlate over here. But again, there's that one little headline on the paper that Beetlejuice is reading in one scene, and they linger on it just long enough that I'm like, that's something. What does that say? Civil servant strike. Okay, so when I saw Hot Dog on a Stick lady later and I couldn't see what her deal was, I was like, oh, she's probably just a scab.
No.
Yeah.
Like some pro-union or union-esque messaging in Beetlejuice.
Nice
Not
catch.
something I expected. So, yeah.
Nice catch, Steven. I didn't notice that, and I do.
I
Now I like this movie 0.3% more.
That's what happens when you see it on the biggest possible screen.
There you go. That's what it is.
True. And I mean, I was actively trying to read the headlines of all the newspapers that they show. Like I must have just missed that one. So, because I'm like, there's stuff here.
Yeah.
And so I must have missed that. But
that's one of those when it comes out on Mac, so you can ride that pause button.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like Willem Dafoe's character, like, I mean, if you're a movie star who regularly plays, no man, I really like his character actually. I thought
one of my favorite parts of the movie is everything Willem Dafoe is doing.
The running gag of him constantly being handed a cup of coffee. Like,
yes,
I do I like Willem Dafoe, but he's not in this movie. He's in some other movie. And somehow that footage got stitched into this movie.
That's the point.
I like that
movie.
movie.
He's an actor from a major action franchise who always plays a hard-boiled detective. Like, of course, he's in a different movie.
Yeah. I have no complaints about what Willem Dafoe is doing in this movie. None whatsoever. No notes. Perfect. 10 out of 10. Yes, please. Cut, print.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, dude.
What else? I mean, the reveal of the ghost kid, saw that coming a mile away.
See, I did not, and so I was.
I love Baby Beetlejuice. I'm with you, Tucker. I totally bought it. Like I was right there until he showed up. I was like,
I meant the teenager.
No, the kid. The teenage kid.
That kid. Same
kid that killed his parents.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming, and honestly, it kind of made that make more sense because, like, I'm expecting Jenna Ortega's character to maybe get hurt or die during that experience, and especially when she hits that tree, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, she's dead, and I'm like, oh no, she just met a boy. Great. Now we're doing this. Now we're fucking doing this. Fantastic.
That's what I thought too, until she comes into the house and they don't show her parents' faces intentionally. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're all dead.
See, and I didn't pick up on that. I'm like, that I thought they might be like, they might be cast with like some of the same actors that are in other parts of the film. And I thought that was going to be a funny reveal later. That's where my head was at that scene. So no, when that reveal happened, I was like, oh, well, okay then.
But now the reveal that he killed them and like he's actually bad was that I didn't see coming. So I mean, there's that at least. So I mean, I guess that was a bit of a twist.
It feels weird that Lydia wouldn't know him though, if it happened 23 years ago and she grew up in that town. feels weird that she wouldn't know that story or wouldn't have known that kid.
I mean, so 23 years ago would be 2001. She was in high school. Well, school.
Yeah,
for
she would have
girls.
been in her late 20s at
She
that.
probably
She wouldn't have been.
She would have left
She would
by
not.
then, more than
Yeah,
likely.
she would not been living there, and also they make it kind of ambiguous how much time any of them spent there after the Beetlejuice thing, because they're always talking about how it was Charles's house and how Lydia had been off doing the show and Delia's in New York doing art stuff. So it's really unclear how much time any of them outside of Charles spent at that house in the following years or in the in-between years.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Especially after they, got the Maitlands their loophole.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I mean, I understand from a real world perspective.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense because if you get Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin back, then you're gonna have to CGI de-age them because it doesn't make any sense for Ghost to age.
Well, that was
Right.
the interview that
you.
when they asked Gina Davis why she wasn't in this movie, she said, "Well, because ghosts don't age."
She's like, not that I have, but
Yeah, not that not that I have, but ghosts don't age. Only demons, trickster demons, apparently.
right.
You didn't think we'd notice the makeup? Come on, guys.
I
We know
mean,
how old Michael Keaton is. We love you, Michael Keaton. But come on.
particularly in like a higher film grade quality or a higher picture quality. Like, yeah, we can see the makeup, we can see the wrinkles, dude.
I mean, he looks fantastic for a 73-year-old. Doesn't
He
look a day over
does.
55.
He does.
Right. Just turned 73
Yeah.
a couple days ago as of this recording, like last week as of this airing. But yeah.
Yeah. And also it does, even though in the movie, I don't know what it was. I knew that already. And I knew that's why they weren't in the movie. I don't know why it feels so cheap in the movie, though. It is literally just a quick one throwaway
We need
line.
just a little more. When
That's
they're
it.
in the attic, we need a box of maybe of their stuff that they have to find something in.
Other than the fucking
or-
model, right?
Yeah. I mean, the model is theirs, but at this point, after you've seen the original, it's not just the thing that Alec Baldwin built. It's a character in the story.
Right.
But we needed just a little something, like maybe a letter or maybe some photos while they're looking for something. Just not
Photos
things
would
where
have
they're
been nice, yeah.
not stuff where it's look, movie going on. It's look at this, but just something over here where if you're looking for it, you're like, oh, there's a photo of Gina Davis, and oh shit, there's Juno or something,
Right.
Just a few. I mean, I don't know why we'd need to bring Juno, your caseworker, in on it, but it'd be nice to see a photo of her. She probably died a long time ago.
I was gonna say her last movie was Tim Burton's Mars Attacks, so she's been gone for a while.
Yeah, because she was in the nursing home. Yeah,
she's the grandma listening to the music, bobbing her head back and forth. Yeah, AKA one of the best fucking parts of that movie.
Yes, dude. Oh, I do love that movie.
I love Mars. That's maybe my second or third favorite Tim Burton movie overall.
I think it's one of the last great Tim Burton movies. Not the last good one, but one of the last great ones.
Not one of his best either, but one of my favorites. I will say objectively probably not a great film, but one that I unabashedly love in spite of myself.
Because it's so Tim Burton-y. It's so
very
Tim Burton-y.
It's very Burton-y, but it's also I love the cast of that thing, and it's so fucking goofy and plays on all of those old 50s sci-fi tropes that you just know Burton fucking loves, and it's so much fun.
Fuck yeah.
Jack Burton or Jack Nicholson in the multiple roles. Jack Burton, your old pal Jack Burton. No, Jack Nicholson in the multiple roles. God, that movie's great.
And Tom Jones. You can't go wrong with Tom Jones.
You really fucking can't.
Mm-mm.
That movie launched a youthful obsession with Tom Jones and young Steven. So
ditto, except I'm not Steven, but yeah.
Right.
I was not young Steven.
It's funny. You look so much like me. It's uncanny.
Surprisingly, we were both young Steven, but at some point we split. And
some mitosis up in this shit.
Yes. We are the same child. We are different adults.
Branch timelines and shit.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Brett. We keep interrupting you.
No, it's quite all right.
It is our nature.
Mars Attacks is fine. Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just kidding, dude. I don't care.
It's probably not even in my top 5 Tim Burton movies.
No,
but,
and it shouldn't be in anyone's top 5 Tim Burton, but it is in mine. So I'm just gonna say that.
I mean,
it shouldn't be, but it absolutely is because I love that movie.
I get it. I watched. Look, I want to talk about Tim Burton movies real quick. I watched Sleepy Hollow because now is the time.
'Tis the season.
The time is now.
And I'd been wanting to watch it again. And yeah, goddamn, I love that movie.
You really do love that movie.
If I didn't have the nostalgia piece for Beetlejuice, Sleepy Hollow might be my favorite Tim Burton movie.
Yo, should I watch that again? Because I really didn't like it when I saw it when it came out. Should I reassess it?
Depends on why you didn't like it.
I don't know. When did it come out? What year did it come out?
1999, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, because I was chasing girls around. I didn't have time for that Tim Burton shit. I had discovered that was the summer I turned pretty, so I discovered that I could get ladies pretty easily. So I was more focused on that, really.
Tucker got mad horny in that period. That was Tucker's mad horny period.
I mean, look, you should love Sleepy Hollow for nothing else than the absolutely insanely stacked cast that movie has.
It's pretty. I think that was one of the
Lee in it.
I don't. Okay, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Miranda Richardson, Michael Gambon, Casper Van Dien, Jeffrey Jones, Richard Griffiths, Ian McDermott, Michael Goff, Christopher Walken. Christopher Lee is in it. There he is. Alan Armstrong. So yeah, there you go. Like that's, and I mean, now we're well below the title at this point. And I'm still picking people that I love. Yeah, now we're getting into people I don't know as well. But yeah, no, unbelievable cast.
Jeffrey
Martin
Jones,
Landau.
Martin Landau. Yeah.
What's going on with Jeffrey Jones? Amadeus is Jeffrey Jones.
Registered sex offender Jeffrey Jones.
Registered pedophile Jeffrey Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason that he's bit in half in this movie.
Right. The reason that you literally don't see his face unless it's the CG animated stop motion thing.
Well, there's a photo, but the only thing that really brought him back, Deadwood brought him back for the movie, which I understand. You can't do a Deadwood movie without that character. You can't.
You just need to kill him off in the first 5 minutes and don't have him around when there's kids on the set.
I know. This is one of the worst ones. This is, again, where I'm making this about me instead of the victims of the crime like I normally do. But, man, I'm so mad at Jeffrey Jones because he's bad for doing the things he did. But also because he did that, now he can't be in movies anymore. And you know what? I fucking love watching that guy in movies. Every movie that he's in that I have seen, he's one of the best parts. Always. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, best part of that movie.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you, but
Mr. Rooney, come on.
I mean, look, you got to separate the art from the artist in this situation.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, fuck that guy, but also, holy shit, I love him in every movie.
And he's a pretty big part of a lot of iconic 80s movies. So, like,
he is a Tim Burton regular collaborator too. So if you're a Tim Burton fan, you gotta reckon with Jeffrey Jones. You gotta.
He's Criswell in Ed Wood.
In Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's best movie, in my opinion.
I agree. Hard agree.
So,
it don't get better.
But I do appreciate that. I feel like this is Beetlejuice is also kind of like Tim Burton going, man, I thought I liked this guy. Like
I knew you, man.
I thought I knew you, but like,
I knew you.
So you're going to be a piece of shit. I'm going to get you bitten in half by a shark.
Your character's going to be in this movie, but you ain't, motherfucker.
And I thought that was really good because he could maybe feel that way, and it was brutal, but at the same time, I feel like the character from the first one is preserved and respected in the second film. Like, they may be like, fuck Jeffrey Jones, but they're not like, fuck Charles Dietz.
Right.
Like, exactly. They keep that. And I did get a little misty-eyed when the animation came up, and I was like, Jeffrey Jones, why? Why have you forsaken us?
And it looks like a young Jeffrey Jones too. Like,
it looks great.
And it's in that Burton kind of weird animation style. Like, all the stop motion stuff, it looked a little too clean for me. Like, it looked like it was all done on computers instead of with actual clay, which, I mean, sure, it's probably cheaper and less time consuming, but like Tim Burton.
And also pretty much literally everything else is practical in this movie.
Right. There's a lot of stuff that's not, but there is a decent amount that is. Like, I loved Willem Dafoe's makeup in this movie, and that is 100% practical.
There's a lot a whole lot more in this movie that is practical that we have seen in a film of this budget and of this stature in decades,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. And I again, we are, all of us on the Disenfranchised podcast, hard practical effects stands. Like, we love them. We will always stand for them in every situation. And there are some really good ones in this movie. Like, there's a lot of great makeup effects. I called out Monica Bellucci's are really good. Monica Bellucci, aka the character that goes nowhere. Like, look, Tim, we know you like showing off your side pieces in movies, like, or your girlfriends and wives in movies. Like, we know you love that. But, usually you've given them a reason to be there, as opposed to whatever the fuck Monica Bellucci's doing in this movie.
Yeah. If only, like, it makes sense if you follow that storyline. Like, you set up that storyline, that's cool, and then you forget about her for most of the movie.
This movie has 4 villains. If you count Beetlejuice, this movie has 4 villains. And it doesn't have enough running time to devote the necessary time to any of them. And so what we end up, this script feels like something that has been in development for 30 years. And there's enough pieces in there that they weren't willing to part with. And so this feels like a Frankenstein of like 4 different movies that we hodgepodged and kind of stitched together or stapled together to make something that felt vaguely coherent. And I'm leaning very heavily on vaguely there. Like, this feels like a movie that has been written and rewritten and gone back over with a fine-tooth comb over and over and over again until what's left is coherent enough for a Hollywood blockbuster, but not coherent enough for an actual story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, and it's not that all 4 of those villains need more time, because, like, the killer teen, that's a pretty self-contained storyline. It doesn't have a whole lot of meat on the bone.
It's, I will say, my favorite storyline of all the other ones.
It could have easily been the B plot to the main A plot.
Correct.
Like, that's it. You don't need the other 2. But, like, they wanted to add the other 2 for some reason, so the other 2 kind of get shunted off to varying degrees. I don't really know where I was going with that, but I mean, it's kind of that's my biggest complaint, is that it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's not. There is no coherence to this movie whatsoever. Like, it's,
And that's, sorry.
No, I just, no. I mean, that's my biggest complaint, is that there's, and it's a modern Hollywood problem. It's not just a legacy sequel problem. It's a modern Hollywood problem, is that we don't have enough of a story to fill a certain runtime. So we have to jam pack it with as much as possible. Or we have all these big actors. We have to give them all enough to do within the confines of the film, so that they feel like their time's not being wasted. They feel like they're having a good experience. And so we're just chucking everything we can into this script, regardless of whether it makes sense. And in this case, I'm sad to say, a lot of it doesn't.
And it's difficult not to compare it to the original in the way
impossible.
that, do you remember last week when I was saying why it's okay that Beetlejuice isn't in the movie until like 45 minutes in the original, is because those characters, that story is interesting enough,
right,
to where not only does it carry us to that point, but we still give a shit about it after Beetlejuice arrives, which is very difficult to pull off. But instead, this one just has this story, that story, and that story, and a couple of them are related to Beetlejuice, and none of them are really that good.
And I
don't give a shit about any of them.
About halfway through this movie, I'm looking at my watch going, Beetlejuice has been in a lot of this motherfucker. I was promised he was not going to be in much of this movie. And like, I think they overuse Beetlejuice. As much as I like what Keaton's doing in this movie, and as much as he's able to dial it back to 88 the way that he did in the original, like, there's too much. Like, you need to pepper that in. Like, that needs to be a spice used sparingly.
No, I think that's what they do, though, is the reason it feels like he's in this more, which he isn't, it's about the same amount of time, is that they do pepper him in instead of bringing him in and him moving the story forward until the end of the movie like he does in the first one. And this one, within the first 10 minutes, you get like a 30-second scene with Beetlejuice. And the next 5 minutes, you get another 30-second scene of what Beetlejuice is doing. And then over the next three to 5 minutes, you get to see him again. It's not that he's in it more, he's just in more of it. Does that make sense? Like he's a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Instead of like when he comes in, you get one little, like when he's reading the paper, that's the only time you really get to hear him or anything before he makes his big entrance, you know? But in this one, immediately he's just there. And he's every couple minutes we check back in with him. And it's not that those scenes are long. It's just that they happen all the fucking time. And so there's no, it's not a reward anymore. You're just,
Right.
It's just part of everything else that's happening. It doesn't feel special.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Yeah. Which is part of what we're saying a lot is that it's all over the place. Like, so you have to constantly be cutting back to Beetlejuice. Like when Beetlejuice isn't on screen, the audience needs to be asking, "Where's Beetlejuice?"
Where's Beetlejuice?
No.
That's really how it seems like they've approached it.
And honestly, in this like climate, in the climate that we're currently in, that's probably what people, if people showed up to a Beetlejuice sequel and Beetlejuice does not show up within the first 10 minutes, people would legitimately be asking, where's Beetlejuice? Because I guarantee you, most people did not go back and rewatch the original movie before watching this one. They probably do not remember the fact that Beetlejuice doesn't show up till halfway through that movie. Yeah. In any realistic and significant way. It's my favorite part about the original Beetlejuice is that he doesn't show up till then, and then after that he is the driving force of the film. But in this, he's, I don't know, it feels like they give him a lot more screen time, but a lot less to do. Mm-hmm. Which is really frustrating, is because half the movie, half of his screen time, he's just hanging out in that like ungodly call center, which reminds me a lot of some call centers I've worked in. Not the one I'm currently working in, mind you, but others that I've worked in.
I've worked with a few Bobs, you guys.
Justice for Bob. Justice for Bob.
Right?
Justice for Bob.
Like another movie where we have a villainous character surrounded by an army of identical minions, all named very simple male names, out in 2024, because this is also the year we got Despicable Me 4. And those are all named like Bob and Alan and Jeff and Mike. There was something I was going
to mention. Like, I don't. It's the minion problem. Like Ghostbusters is doing it, and now Beetlejuice is doing it. Like you don't need to have a bunch of dumb, goofy minions.
How are you going to sell merchandise, Brett?
God damn it! I know.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that really drags this down, is that they do have to make this film for the, no offense to anyone, lowest IQ in the room. Mm-hmm. You know, because the first movie, it trusts you. There's no long explanations. There's no long conversations. Like I said, it just breezes through the plot. We never really set on anything. It just keeps going. Whereas in this movie, the movie just kept stopping so people could talk about shit that doesn't fucking matter.
Nope.
But they have to do that because since this is a legacy sequel, and since most people who enjoy this enjoy it from their childhood and don't remember why they like it, or they liked it for different reasons when they were a child, you have to cater to all those people because Beetlejuice is universal.
Yeah.
And
somehow, actually, it's a Warner Brothers film, I believe.
Shut the fuck up, Steven. But you know what I mean. It's everybody. Show me somebody that doesn't like Beetlejuice. And how could you not at least respect it for what it does? But all those
not everything is for everyone, but yeah.
No, I think the original is. Everybody loves Beetlejuice, and it trusts its audience, and also it's made in such a way that you don't have to be into movies. You don't have to understand how movies work or be familiar with how story writing is or direction or anything. It's just a good movie, no matter how smart or dumb or how, into or ignorant you are about film or storytelling or anything. It's just good. and
Tucker just
they
going
knew they
fucking
couldn't.
bananas with those air quotes there.
They knew. I'm voguing with them basically.
You really are. It's
There we
kind
go.
of just to give our audience a point of reference there. Tucker's just hands flying all over the screen with those air quotes.
But they knew that was lightning in a bottle. That's not something that you can do on purpose. You make a film that's that universally loved, that's lightning in a fucking bottle.
And so
in the
much of that
sequel-
original film was accidental. It's shit that based on their own limitations or shit that they stumbled into. Like Tim Burton's first choice to fucking play Beetlejuice was Sammy Davis Jr.
I want to see that version.
Like that's
I don't.
no, neither do I. That's insane.
He's like,
But,
we
like-
come for your nutter, Jack.
That's wild, babe. Like that's kind of absolutely nuts. And
Yeah.
like you don't get Keaton, you don't get his comedic sensibility. Like this movie made any change made to that original film leads to a completely different film that's not the movie we love. But then when you try to replicate it and without understanding what it is that people like, and I think having so much time removed from it, you get a chance to listen to all the voices. Well, this is what people love. This is what people know. This, and now you're like you said, catering to such a broad group, and you want to make sure that the adults that loved it when they were kids have something to latch onto, but the kids today are going to love it and they're going to have something to latch onto. So you cast Jenna Ortega, who is, I will say, the
She's fine
best
in this,
part
yeah.
of this movie, in my
Say that,
opinion.
but she does her job in this movie. She earned her paycheck, is what I'll say.
Her scenes, her storyline is the most interesting to me. Like that's when I was really locked into this movie, is when she's on screen and doing her thing.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed that. Like Winona Ryder, fine, great. I love Winona Ryder, but like
I think she did really great at not just coming in and being Winona Ryder, but coming back in and being a believable 35-year older Lydia Dietz. I believe that. I believe that's who she was. Like I said, and that's anything that I don't like about this movie is no discredit to anybody that was involved in making it. I think everybody did their best and everybody did a great job. It just wasn't, the pieces did not fit together.
right. Discredit maybe to the screenwriters, but other than that,
Yeah.
but
But and
screenwriters who
that
constantly get shit. Poor screenwriters.
well, and that they are probably good and probably could have made a good version of this movie. But with a movie like this, the studio's like, you have to do this. You can't do that. That has to go. You're going to add you need the metal spider, robotic spider there.
right.
And
I mean, it's Alfred Guff, Miles Miller, and Seth Graham Greene. Like these are established Hollywood screenwriters.
Well, when I saw Seth Graham Smith's name, I was like, oh no.
Yep.
not roll.
Yep.
I was like, oh no. Oh, I suddenly don't feel so great.
And I mean, he's the
I don't
one
feel so
who
good, Mr. Stark.
he's the one who's been working on this movie for like the last 10 years. Like
Oh,
he's
geez.
been the predominant voice. And I think Miller and Goff came in later to kind of punch up what he'd already put down. But again, like we talked in our original episode way back in 2020, Brett, about Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian and what that script was and what that kind of entailed in the direction that was going. But they've basically been riffing on those premises ever since. And this is kind of what we're left with. And again, this, like I said before, this movie feels like it's been written for 30 years. It just feels like it's 30 years in the making. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Maybe, I would say maybe too many cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks.
For sure.
And it just feels like there are so many things that someone high up really liked and wasn't willing to get rid of. And so we have to have that beat. We have to have that moment. It's like on our Planet of the Apes episode when we talked about the guy who like completely scrapped the project because his baseball idea wasn't in the final project. Like that's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. It's like, well, this movie doesn't get made if we don't have, 10 of the shrunken head guys, that one joke in the first movie, that one visual thing that people thought was really funny. We're going to do that like 10 times in this movie. And it's like, we're going to have them running all over a town. That's going to be hilarious.
You want to hear something really bad though?
Do I?
I actually kind of really liked it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Look, I was of two minds about it because it was very amusing. I love the the no head costumes, because the torsos are always so large and the shoulders are. In anything where you have a practical effect of like a headless body walking around,
Yeah.
it's always like that. And I love the way that looks. It's so off-putting and creepy, but also silly. And so seeing all those bobs running around, all the bobs are just headless costumes with little heads on top. And I aesthetically, I was like, yes, this is fantastic. But also, it's really stupid.
They can't put their arms above like the apparatus on their shoulders. So they have to like flail their arms around. It's
exactly.
hilarious.
I love it as a concept. I love it as a concept, but I mean, like, as a part of this movie,
in moderation, though, like, and that's just it. Like, in moderation, like, do we need 10 of those guys? No, probably not. We could just bring back the original guy. That would be fine. But no, we've got to have 10 of them, and they're identical. Why are they identical? Shrug. Minions. That's why, and they're all yellow, like Minions.
Well, okay. First of all, hold on. There's only like 5 of them. And second of all, like, who knows? I mean, like, you want to get into some headcanon. Like, they probably all were dressed differently, but Beetlejuice hired them all for his, bioexorcist call center. And
well,
they
how
needed a
come
uniform?
He was able to reverse his shrunken headedness, but he doesn't reverse theirs?
Because he's
where's that sawed in half lady that was shrinking all their heads anyway? Does she work for him as well, like getting him new recruits by shrinking their heads and sending them to the call center? Where's she?
I don't think they're going to work for him.
The witch doctor was the one that shrunk his head in the
I thought it was the sawed in half lady. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No.
Because because he switches the thing with them.
The numbers, yeah.
He's sitting next to the legs of the sawed in half lady.
There you go.
Right.
Yes.
And like copping a feel and getting kicked, but yeah.
And the witch doctor's on the other side.
Right.
Yeah. Just like
well.
no look sprinkles the stuff on his head.
Yeah. How did he undo that?
Look,
he found a loophole.
I don't need an answer to that question. I really don't.
No, because he's Beetlejuice.
He's fucking Beetlejuice, right? He stuck his thumb in his mouth and he blew and his head popped back. Like, that's I don't care. He's a cartoon. We'll say that cartoon physics work. Like, I don't need that answer. I don't need the answer to that question. But
life doesn't make any sense in these movies.
And that's right. But again, I agree with you, Brett. They apply too many rules to it in this one. And I'm just stuck going, this movie doesn't make sense. Like, you've got, again, 4 villains. You've got Bride of Beetlejuice. You've got Killer Teenager. You've got Bad Boyfriend. And you've got Beetlejuice. And they're all dispatched so quickly and without any kind of thought given to them. Like, bad boyfriend, Beetlejuice pulls a lever and he falls into hell. Done. The Bride of Beetlejuice and Bad Boyfriend, they get eaten by a sandworm. Done. Beetlejuice, he inflates for some reason and explodes and says he should have gotten married in Vegas. Done. Like, it's just like,
which I didn't like that, because like at the end of the first movie, like, he's fighting them to say his name.
Right.
Like, and in this one, they just say his name 3 times and he doesn't even like.
Yep.
He just doesn't bat an eye. He doesn't try to fight them on it. He just lets them do it.
Well, he's tired. He's 72. He's tired.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. He's a little different in this one. In the original, I think Beetlejuice is truly, truly evil and just wants what he wants.
Right.
He wants to further his agenda in the original one.
Exactly.
In this one, he's almost like an anti-hero, which made me kind of sad when they killed him off, because like everybody wants his help and he's like, okay. And he's not like trying to trick them or anything. He's just like, well, if we get married, you just sign this.
He's kind of trying to trick them, or at least Lydia he's trying to trick, but yeah.
And like when Jenna Ortega's like, well, we read the book and that doesn't work and the contract goes up in flames, he's like, fair. Like he's not all about no. In the original, he would have tried harder.
Exactly.
And this one, he's like, all right, I guess I'll blow up. Whatever.
Apparently, the 35 years in between the first movie and this one have made him very soft.
Really mellowed him out, yeah.
Right, which
is mellowed him out. Well, the call center kills your soul. I think that's what did it.
Yes.
Really grinded him down as a person.
I think his love of Lydia softened him up a little bit. I mean, he always has that picture of Lydia on his desk.
That's true.
Yeah, okay, my favorite, I have to come back to my favorite and least favorite scene in this movie, and it's the same fucking scene, is the musical number at the end, because it is so theatrical and so fun and so goofy. And I love MacArthur Park, the song. Both the Richard Harris and the Donna Summer versions that we hear in this
and
movie.
The Weird Al version.
And the Weird Al version.
About Jurassic Park.
And the Weird Al parody, sure. But I love MacArthur Park. I love that song. But it is everything I hate about this movie. Like, it's everything I love and everything I hate about this movie distilled into one scene. Because it's the fan servicey looking back to the original. Why is this musical number in the movie? Because we had one in the original where a ghost was making everyone lip sync and dance. That's why it's in this movie. But then by the same token, it's also like, it's like Willem Dafoe's character getting to do some fun shit. It's Jenna Ortega and Catherine O'Hara like lip syncing like crazy. Bern Gorman fucking nailing it as the priest. Like,
oh yeah, he was the best out of all of them with the lip syncing. Like that's the only one that I believed. He could have been in the first one in that scene.
100%.
He could have been there for sure.
Like, he's my number 3 favorite performance in this movie after Jenna Ortega and Willem Dafoe. Like, because every time he's on screen, he's saying something ridiculous while just being as stoic and self-serious as possible. And I think it's awesome. And he's so good at it.
And he's fantastic in everything that I've seen him in because he has such a unique look and he knows exactly what to do with it. He knows what his face looks like and he knows how to move it so that you believe everything that he's saying and doing. Yeah. He is a master. Like, he has to look in the mirror probably hours a day where he's like, all right, there it is. Nope. Right there. There you go. That
is a man who has such great, like, and again, the lip sync scene confirms it. He has such an incredible control of his face that, like, it's impossible to like look at this guy and not have a blast. He's absolutely nailing the lip syncing in a way that none of the other actors really are. There are some that are better than others, but he's far and away the best. And you can tell everyone in that scene is having a really fun time doing what they're doing and like goofing around. But then by the same token, like, it's all just fan service. Like, this is just here because it was in the first one. There's no, like, in the first, and I was telling this to my partner last night as we were on our way home, like, in the first movie, the lip sync scene has a narrative purpose. The Maitlands are trying to scare away the Dietzes and their guests. Like, they're trying to scare them all away by possessing them and making them lip sync Adam's favorite music, Calypso. Up to this point, we've pretty much just had a disco soundtrack because apparently that's what they listen to in the afterlife is disco.
Well, and every time we're in the Killer Kids room, it's always some sad, weepy 90s band.
Right.
Because it's cool to be into the 90s now.
Right. Everything's 30 years removed.
Yeah.
That's when he died.
Yeah, I know. Of course that's conveniently when he died.
Right.
Okay.
That's
right.
what this is the point Tucker's making.
Yes.
I fucking guess.
If you say so, jeez.
I mean, he could have died in any era. Like, they could have made it any era, but because it's 2024, he died in the fucking 90s as a teenager.
In the 90s, man.
Yeah, man, where everything was so much better.
What other decade could he have died in then it wouldn't have been obvious he's been dead? Like, you say he died
2000s.
in the 80s, that's pretty obvious. Like, the
Early
2000s are not that much different from the 90s in terms of, like,
early 2000. He died in 2012.
Because fashion runs in cycles of 30 years, Brett. So because it was 30 years ago, those fashions are back in.
Yes, dude.
I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't even give it a second fucking thought.
Oh no, I don't have
whatever.
I'm not saying I have a problem with it.
No, it's just so predictable. You know what I'm saying? Just a little predictable from a story writing standpoint.
Again, I didn't think so. I don't really.
Okay. That's fair, Brett. I respect what you say, and it's valid as fuck.
You just seem to not like 90s music. That's what this sounds like.
I love 90s music. Are you kidding?
Who doesn't love? It's a music I grew up on. What are you talking about?
Do you see Odelay by Beck right there?
It's right there, Brett.
It's right there.
Why are you out here talking shit about it?
Do you see Diggable Planets right there? Those are both early 90s. Look at that. Prominently featured on my vinyl rack.
What's the problem?
There isn't one.
Why is there a problem? Why does there have to be a problem,
because
Brett?
It's lazy writing, Brett. It's not about what decade it is. It's not about any of that. It's just that it's lazy writing. It's exactly what you would expect because they have to make it for everybody. And that's what everybody wants is 90s shit.
That's what's...
It just feels lazy. That's all.
In the zeitgeist right
maybe
now.
Maybe that's what I'm missing. I don't... Is that?
And that's great.
what
I
everybody
love
wants
that for
to
you.
know?
I really do. I love that you can enjoy stuff that is lazy. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not.
Wow.
Because like I wish that I were less nitpicky. No, I'm serious. This sounds like I'm saying a terrible thing, but I wish I
It
were less
really does.
nitpicky because as much as I can watch a bad movie and find a lot of good stuff about it that I like, mediocre movies, I cannot do it. You've either got to be good or bad. In the middle, I'm not so much into that, you know. So something like this, when there's some lazy writing involved, I can't look past it. Even though it doesn't really impact the story at all, you know, it doesn't fucking matter. It's a huge nitpick, and it sucks being somebody who can't enjoy something like that. So that's why I'm saying that I love that for you, Brett. And I'm not insulting you at all. I'm not saying anything bad about you. I'm just saying that I wish that I could view it through that lens so that I could get some more enjoyment out of stuff that I probably should be enjoying more.
He's not intentionally insulting you anyway.
No,
I'm
unintentionally,
in a backhanded
absolutely.
way.
Right.
I'm insulting you.
But like, look, but here's the thing: I'm not saying I enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it. I'm out here going, what are you talking about? Like I don't know why would that be lazy writing? I don't get that. I don't get where like
Because it's
people
so obvious. It's so
Is it?
obvious.
That's what I don't
Yeah.
understand. You're saying like that's so obvious. I don't agree. Why is that so obvious?
Well, Steven explained it. It's fashion and culture runs in a 30-year cycle. This was something I noticed in the 90s when everybody was doing 60s stuff, including myself.
The fucking troll dolls made a comeback and all
yeah,
that shit.
Yeah, like I
Bell
kind of
bottoms.
noticed that.
Jinko
and,
jeans are bell bottoms for the 90s.
Can I tell you that my buddy Marv, who is 21 years old, my friend Marv, I'm always talking about, this boy wears Jinkos to work.
No, absolutely not.
Big
Directly to jail.
I'll make sure he knows you said that. But no, this dude loves fucking 9-inch nails and wears Jinkos and shit. It's a cycle, man. And I'm fine. That's not a bad thing that it's a cycle. That's fucking rad. I love that stuff gets to come back and gets a new audience and everything. But to just kind of rely on something, a trope that lazy in a movie like this, kind of, it takes me out of it. It makes me not like it as much. Even though it doesn't fucking matter. I'm admitting that I'm the weird one, Brett. I'm admitting that.
He said
And
that
I
a few
don't want
times.
to be that way.
Well, yeah, no, I get that. It's just it's the logic I can't wrap my head around. Like,
And that's fair.
I don't get it. I don't understand where you're coming from. I can't even understand where you're coming from. Like, I don't get it.
That's fine.
So,
That's-
like, I mean,
Here's the thing, Brett. You're right. He's wrong.
That's true. That's what I'm saying.
That's it.
I am cursed.
and I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No,
No.
he's not.
Only in tone,
You,
but not in
right.
meaning.
I'm talking about you, Stephen. I
Oh,
can't tell if
me?
you're being
No,
sarcastic.
no, I'm actually really not. I get that a lot, though. People can't tell when I'm being like genuine or sarcastic because everything I say sounds just a little bit sarcastic.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. But no, but yeah, so like we've written this like theme of disco soundtrack with the exception of the Killer Boy themes or scenes. And so like that coming with and also the exception of the funeral where we've got the weird choral rendition of Deo.
Yeah, did we
which
need that?
Sticks out like a sore fucking thumb.
Because why would Charles like that? That wasn't his thing. That was a fucking Maitland
Exactly.
man.
I mean, he did have a really fun time after that. After that happened, they were all hooting and hollering and having a blast.
Yeah, see, I got the impression that like after that happened, especially the scene after it in the original movie, that he liked that song so much because of what happened.
He became the second biggest Harry Belafonte fan in the world.
Well, the biggest
outside of Alec
living
Baldwin.
the
Yeah, there
biggest
you go.
living Harry Belafonte fan.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
Yes.
it is, or maybe it was just that song. Like I could see him telling Delia like play that song at my funeral. Like I could see his character saying
Like that's the thrill of his life, is what you're saying. Like that was the most fun he had.
I could see that.
and
'Cause how do you
speaking,
match that experience in a positive
don't.
way? I mean, there were negative things that were wilder than that happened to him during that experience, but that specific thing, that was fun. Everybody had a good time. And
I mean,
how do
and
you beat that?
you get the impression that Adam and Barbara made that happen for them a lot. Like, because at the end of the movie, you get Lydia dancing to work your body
Jump
line.
in the line.
Jump in the
in
line.
the
That's what it's
line.
fucking called. Yes. I was like, I know I'm gonna get the name of the song completely wrong, but yeah, you get her dancing to that. So, and that was like her reward for doing well in school. So you get the impression they're doing that a lot.
The more we're talking about stuff in this movie, the more I'm realizing there is a lot of unspoken stuff going on. Like it just is in the like story that's in the background.
In the subtext, if you
like
will.
there's so much subtext in this movie. Like
really?
because something I noticed that I thought
Elaborate.
about, like Jenna Ortega's character can't see ghosts, right?
So
Until
she thinks.
Well, no. See, I think when
She bumps her head.
she hits her head on the tree, and then she can see ghosts.
Yes.
Like,
she's dead. Oh, damn! She just met a boy. Moment. Yeah.
Because she clearly hits her head.
People who can
Real
see
hard.
the paranormal thing are brain damaged. Yes, interesting.
Well, and I think the reason that I thought that she was probably going to die with that is the Maitlands just crash off a bridge. How hard is it to get out of a car that's in like 3 feet of water?
Incredibly hard. Like
I guess so.
Seriously, legit. It's incredibly hard to get out of a sinking car.
In a little stream like that, though?
Because of the pressure. Like if a car is even like 3/4 submerged, which it looks like it is because it goes in head first,
No.
they would not have been able to get the doors open.
Neither of them were wearing seatbelts, by the way. I've confirmed this. Just saying. They could have rolled down the windows, probably.
You can't even do that because of the pressure.
Oh.
Yeah. Pressure pushing down on you.
On the Maitland's car.
Down on me.
Because like that's why like you have to act super fast if your car gets submerged in water. You have to act immediately, which most people don't because like my car is sinking, I'm going to die.
It's shock. Yeah, it becomes a state of shock.
And by the time you think what you need to be doing, it's too late. The pressure from the water is like you can't open a door, you can't roll down a window, like you're screwed.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Well, I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
Look, what you do in your own personal time is your business, and we don't need to hear about it.
You guys don't know. You only see me from the waist up. I could have a boner the entire time we're recording.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of.
Check, guys. Let's see those hands. Brett? All right. Okay, cool.
It took Brett a while to get those hands
to clean up, I guess.
You'll never know.
And I don't want to know. That's the point I'm making.
That's why we're from the waist up. We couldn't handle the truth.
Yeah, we really couldn't.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Right, subtext.
I'm in my underpants.
But I mean, like,
you're wearing pants?
Barely.
I never did.
Hell yeah.
It's your house, damn it. Here.
It's your house, damn it. Come on.
Anyway, the headline we were talking about earlier about the strike, the civil servant strike. Like, there's a lot of background storytelling going on. That and the stuff we were talking about with like Charles really liking the Deo song, like it's stuff that you sort of have to headcanon, but it makes so much sense that you're like, I bet you he intended that.
Because initially I'm like, why the fuck is this song playing at his funeral? And then I thought about it for 20 seconds and I was like, oh no, he had a blast with that. He had a lot of fun with that. Like they all did. That was the point of that scene, is that they were trying to get scared away and then they weren't. Like that was the whole point. So no, he probably walked away with that from that experience with an appreciation for that song. So it made sense at that point, but I still didn't like it because again, it felt very callback. Like, why is this song here? Because it was in the original, because this is the scene you all remember. Yeah. Exactly.
Look, is it explained? Yes. Could it be explained? Yes. But it still felt weird.
I still hate it. Like it's still something because again, it's those fan servicey elements that I feel like I'm being pandered to. I feel like I'm being coddled to. I feel like I'm being talked down to as an audience member. Like, yeah, this is the shit you liked in the first one. Yeah, you like this shit, don't you? Eat it. Fucking eat it. And I'm just like,
shove it down your throat.
Right. I don't know. Thank you.
That's where I'm like, do you have some unresolved trauma?
Like, maybe I fucking do, Brett.
Like,
maybe that's why we are this way, Brett. Maybe.
Because when I see that stuff, I'm like that. Like, well, okay, so I'm of two minds of it. In this movie, it does feel very like corporate, like the company was like, yeah, we need to give them this fan servicey stuff. Whereas like in other movies, it doesn't feel that way. It feels more lighthearted and like, look, here's the stuff you like. Isn't that cool?
But see, I don't want to just be shown the stuff I like if it doesn't make sense in the story. Like I'm okay with callbacks and I'm okay with references. Like that shit is fine. Make it make sense within the logic of the film, and don't just throw it at me because you can. And that's the stuff that irks me. That's the stuff that tends to bug me as someone going to see a movie. Is, we put Deo in it. Remember the Deo? You like the Deo, don't you? Like the Deo? Like, yeah, I like that song, but the fuck, like, you arrange it differently. You make a bunch of kids sing it. Like, and that's supposed to, you can tell that's supposed to be a laugh moment. And I'm just like, like, it just didn't work for me.
If I may gatekeep for a moment, in the in the time before streaming music, how many people who were fans of that song knew that it was called the Banana Boat song?
Sure. Very few is my guess.
Very few.
Look, the people our age that discovered and liked that song was probably through either one of two things, either reruns of The Muppet Show or Beetlejuice.
It was both at the same time for me. Like, they both kind of, it was parallel.
I mean, for me, it was Muppet Show, but like, I know for you guys, it was probably Beetlejuice. For Tucker, apparently, it was both because he's a galaxy-brained individual.
I contain multitudes.
You contain
something.
Tell you. Multitudes of something.
Full of shit is what he's saying.
I mean, I didn't say it, but you said it, and I can't say I disagree.
Implied. And I agree.
But like that's the whole, like, and so I mean, but I'm like, so you get like this music that's probably like 30 years out of date for the original film, and we're doing the same thing, except it's more than 30. It says more like 50 years out of date.
Yeah,
for this movie.
MacArthur's Park came out, yeah.
And I remember saying last week during our Beetlejuice Redux episode, like, how much I would have loved to have the Calypso soundtrack for this movie as well. And then as soon as I heard MacArthur Park, I'm like, oh no, is it going to be disco? And then it fucking was disco. And I was like,
it was, yeah.
Damn it. Like, fucking damn it. And again, the MacArthur Park wedding scene, loved and hated in equal measure. Like, it dispatches
the best and worst scene of the movie.
It is 100%. Like,
really
I love it, and I hate it, and I hate that I love it. Like, that's kind of.
I love that I hate it.
Exactly. Another thing in this movie that I hate in love in equal measure, I love it so much, and I hate that I love it as much as I do because it works for me so well. Baby Beetlejuice. Like, he shows up twice in this movie, and I fucking love him, and I want him. Like, I want a life-size baby Beetlejuice that I can just put on my shelf and look at and love and admire forever.
Suction cups on your car, like the Garfield.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's so
I'm sure it exists. That character only exists for merchandising, so.
Yeah,
sure
in about 9 months to a year, Hot Topic is just going to be baby Beetlejuice.
Yeah, dude. There's your chance, Steven. You get your little one for your window.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
Like, but that's it. Like, again, it's one of those things where you're like, we're going to put this in this movie. It doesn't really serve a narrative purpose. It's a joke. It's a gimmick, but you're going to love it. But it serves no narrative purpose. Like, it's a joke. It's a gimmick. Why is it here? It's here to make you laugh, but we're going to recall it later just so you can be like, haha, remember baby Beetlejuice, bitch? And then it started crawling on the ceiling. I'm like, oh, are we going to fucking do a train spotting joke in 2024? Is that where this is going? And then he eats the light bulb, and I was like, okay, I'm good. We're fine. Like, I don't need a train spotting joke in 2024. No, thank you.
I love
that's
how
such a weird callback to have made.
I just love how blatantly dumb all the baby Beetlejuice stuff is. It's not unapologetically stupid. Like, as he crawls away, it's like, and I just thought that was hilarious. And like, normally fart jokes are a miss because they got to be pretty good fart jokes for me to like them, because farts are inherently hilarious. But I mean, it's shit without the mess. What's there not to love?
It's lazy writing, though.
Exactly.
It's shorthand. Toot noise equals funny. Like, come on, we can punch this up a little.
And I don't know, the farting as he crawled away was lazy, but still hilarious, just because the way that it was shot and the way it was moving and just how goofy the whole scene was in general.
Again, on paper, it's everything I should be hating, but I can't help but kind of love it. Like, and that's the thing that infuriates me about this movie is the stuff I love the most is also the stuff I hate the most, which is why I come down right in the middle on this movie, because I love it and as much as I hate it and hate it as much as I love it.
It's so weird because this movie is firing on most cylinders.
Yeah.
But not all of them, and that's a problem.
No.
Because the ones that are not firing are very important.
So important.
Very, like, very important.
Vital, I would say.
It's the oxygen. It's the life support systems that are failing in this. That's everything else, great.
Engines are running great, though.
Perfect. Fantastic. Yeah.
Trucking right along.
Yeah, dude.
If there had only been 2 less storylines, this movie might have been like a 10 out of 10.
Right?
I think so, yeah.
Like, I think if it were a little leaner and a little cleaner, it could have been really smart. And if you'd have focused instead of trying to like shoehorn Monica Bellucci into this thing, I quit. I hate to keep picking on her because I love her in everything else. But like, I love her, especially in Twin Peaks. Had another Monica Bellucci dream. Like, what? She makes more sense in Twin Peaks than she does here. And she makes no sense in Twin Peaks.
None.
Like, but that's where I'm at. I'm just like, if we'd have maybe written that character out and maybe put her somewhere else where Tim Burton can be like, look at this hot girl I'm dating, because he loves to do that. Then we could have probably like cleaned this up, like paid attention to the things that weren't working and weren't making a lot of sense and streamlined those a little bit and made something that works a little more as an overall story instead of trying to create something that's going to sell at Hot Topic.
Boys, It's as simple as this. They made the wrong script. They picked the wrong one. Everybody's doing great in this movie. Tim Burton is doing great, better than I've seen him do in years, decades maybe. All the acting is on point. They get their characters. Everybody knows what movie they're in. Everything's great about this movie. But the one thing that matters is the script, and they picked the wrong one.
That's it.
This was not the one to do.
No.
This was not the one to waste all of that talent on, is what I'm saying.
Well, I was going to say in terms of Monica Bellucci's character.
Brett.
There's some more subtext, and that is the fact that the finger that Beetlejuice has in the first movie is hers.
Oh, yeah. I think I considered that during the film, but I hadn't thought about it since then, because I did Mimby, because he takes it off to give it to,
Yeah, so she meant nothing to me. Nothing.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
so
that is the last finger that she recovers. That's like the last part that she staples onto herself.
And it even looks different. Like it looks dirtier and grodier than the rest of her. Because Beetlejuice was carrying it around for however long.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So more subtext in the background of this movie. Like, maybe.
And again, we could maybe, like, again, if we're streamlining and paring out things that don't make sense, then, maybe we can, draw a straighter line to that. Maybe.
Well, yeah. Maybe some of the subtext becomes actual text and the movie becomes better because of it. Who knows?
Right. Instead of someone like hearing this podcast and making a TikTok in 12 months going, did you know that the finger that she has is the finger that Beetlejuice has in the first movie?
I can't. I'm going to share that TikTok with you as soon as I find it.
I know you are.
Endings explained. Beetlejuice.
But ending of Beetlejuice video explained. Like, do we need the ending of Beetlejuice explained? Like, no. Really? No. Do we really?
Have you ever watched one of those videos? All it is just them talking about the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the ending. They're telling you what the
they spend. It's a 15-minute runtime video. They spend 15 minutes setting up the entire movie, and the last 3, they're like, "Oh yeah, and so the ending is this. See, it pays off. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Listen to our sponsors. Here's the." And I'm just like, they've made it. There's a cottage industry on YouTube around that shit.
No, there is. Yeah. So one last big thing I want to talk about, but go ahead. I'll do that after you're done. Right, Tucker.
I was just going to say, from in the context of what we're saying, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship with the film companies that make all these huge pop culture blockbusters, because they put the stuff in there to feed those videos, and the videos feed back into the movies so people can understand what's happening in them. For casual fans, they can watch the videos, then watch the movie and have a better time. It's a circle. It's a circle of life.
I mean, that's true. Because what random run-of-the-mill Beetlejuice fan is gonna know some of the stuff that I saw? Like,
I forgot Beetlejuice even had a finger in the first movie until you guys mentioned it, and I was like, oh. Oh, okay. I almost asked what finger, then Tucker pulled the ring off, and I was like, oh, that finger. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you had just recently watched this movie too.
I know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but Brett, to be fair, we've probably seen it thousands of times, whereas Steven has seen it like 3 times, 2 times,
Correct.
3 times. Yeah,
True. Yeah,
3 times. Yeah.
fair enough.
thousands of times.
I forget about the Jesus of it all.
There are full days.
How dare you
spent
forget
watching
the
this movie
Jesus
as a
of it all,
child.
sir?
Blah blah Bible Jesus magic.
Yeah, dude.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Well, look, I'm also quoting the opening number of the musical.
Sure.
It's like my favorite line in the opening number. So the main thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is the marketing of this movie, because God, it ruined a lot of it. I feel like there were jokes in this movie that would have probably made me laugh pretty hard had I not seen them a million times in the trailer.
Yeah.
The big one being, I'm going to make you so happy. Like, that would have made me laugh out loud had I not seen it a million times in the trailer.
Yeah.
Because it feels
The juice
like
is
old
loose
Beetlejuice.
would have been more impactful, I feel like.
It would have, yeah.
I don't think that's a great line just to begin with, but
No.
like it would have at
But-
least been better had I
Yeah.
not already heard it 15 times. You're correct.
Yeah, it would have hit harder.
I think it's the delivery of that line that makes it a fun one. But like I say, you hear it so many times before, then it loses all its impact in the film.
Or if they'd used a different cut, like a different delivery of that line in the movie than they did in the marketing, that would have been great too. Like, I love when they do shit like that. Like, what's in the trailer is not what's in the movie. Like, I find that really fun when that does happen.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I miss trailers that are shot just as trailers and they're not part of the movie. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, where it's just the chainsaw coming out of the water and like Leatherface grabs it and it's like fucking the saw is family. It's like all Arthurian and shit. Like, and it has nothing to do with the movie. It's just supposed to get you hyped.
Right.
It's like, this is the kind of shit you need to expect from this movie. It's wacky and you're going to love it.
What a trailer is supposed to do. It's not supposed to reveal
trailers.
half the movie to you.
Well, yeah, the most notorious right now is what's the new James McAvoy movie?
Oh, Speak No Evil?
Speak No Evil, yes.
Right.
We saw that trailer in front of Alien Romulus, but that's because
I was going to say, I've seen it in front of every movie I've seen over the past year.
In front of every movie that's been out in the past year.
It wasn't in front of this one, mercifully,
No.
but it's been in front of all the others.
Yeah, but yeah, that trailer does show you the entire movie. I don't have to go see it. I know what happens. Like,
they do basically everything except spell it out for you, and they kind of tiptoe right up to the line of doing that.
yeah.
But with the whole kid with the open mouth doing the scissors motion, like, come on.
Yeah.
Well, it's like connect the dots, but there's like little dotted lines in between the dots. Like Billy
Right.
from Family Circus has been walking through your connect the dots. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I wish trailers didn't show you the whole movie anymore.
Agreed.
Do I get why they do that now? Yes. Do I still think it's stupid? Also yes.
Also, yes. Yeah.
Double agree.
But they definitely overdid the marketing on this movie. Like,
Again,
real bad.
they have to go hard on the marketing for this one because this is their big tent pole heading out of the summer and into award season. Like, they're probably at least hoping to pick up some, like, maybe makeup or effects awards for this movie.
Which
Or at
they
least-
should.
Or at least nomination, like makeup 100%. If this movie does not get a makeup or a costuming or maybe even an art direction nomination, I'll be surprised.
I think that Danny Elfman deserves a little bit of credit for the score because he did a really good job of basically, it's like when you listen to the record and you hear the song you like, and then 15, 20 years later, you see that band live and they play that song. They've been playing it for 20 fucking years. So it has changed in little tiny ways, just enough where you notice it and appreciate it, everything that's different about it. And that's the Beetlejuice score.
Right.
Like, he took the same thing and then just played it a million times and basically perfected it. And that, as a musician myself, I understand that because, like, I look back at older songs that I did and I would do them completely different now, but you would know it was the same song.
Right.
And that's how the Beetlejuice score felt. And I thought that was really impressive how well he kept it the same while very obviously taking it in so many different directions and adding so many, just peppering little things here and there, changing it just enough to where it's really fresh.
Yeah, you can tell this is a guy who's been working on film scores for 20 years, coming back to something he really likes and being like, all right, let's flex a little bit. Let's try some new shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what got me tear up at the beginning, was those titles came up and the music was kind of the same. And I was like, oh, if this movie is the same as this music, we are going to have a good fucking time. But unfortunately,
it was not.
It tried to be. Tried
Listener,
really hard, and I respect it.
It was not.
I respect the fuck out of this movie, you guys, but man, I really did not like it that much.
Yeah. My last thought is, did Moira Rose break Catherine O'Hara? That's my last thought. Is we've talked on the podcast before about roles that actors play that kind of like change the way that they perform every other role they have after that. Like Captain Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp. Like every role he's played since Jack Sparrow has just been a little like degrees of Jack Sparrow pretty much since then. And I feel like this is, and they're similar characters, like both Delia and Moira are artists, but like there's a lot more Moira to this performance than the Delia I remember from '88. And maybe that's a choice for her, but like,
I'm not familiar. Who's this other character from what?
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. So with my only reference being, funny. I plan on it at some point because everybody that's involved in it, I'm a fucking fan of. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I just started Waco, and that's an emotional roller coaster. We'll talk about that some other time. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, I just thought about Waco, and now I'm spiraling. What was I talking about? Oh, Catherine O'Hara. Yeah. So I haven't seen Schitt's Creek. But that episode I watched last night that fucked me up, dude. Episode 3 fucked me up. Anyway, like Catherine O'Hara, based on her performance in the original, without any context from Schitt's Creek, I thought it was very spot on for me. And that may be because I lack context from the other, or maybe it's because I've seen Beetlejuice thousands of more times than Steven has. But I would say both opinions are valid as fuck.
Well, and I also got to wonder, is it the other way around? Is like that's such Moira Rose is such an iconic performance. Is that just sort of what you've imprinted on her now?
Could be.
Maybe.
Like, yeah. So it could be the other way. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know. Listeners, you tell me.
Yeah, dude. In the comments.
In the comments on our Patreon, patreon.com/disenfranchpod, the official conversation of the Disenfranchised podcast.
Yeah, dude.
Gentlemen, anything else to say before we wrap this up and talk a little bit about the early response to this movie?
I feel very, very satisfied that I feel like I got to say everything I really wanted to say about this movie. I feel good. I feel good about this. I really do.
Yeah, I feel the same, I think. I can't really think of anything else I would want to say. I would say I'm good.
Okay.
Well, because as I was watching this movie and as I was driving home, because I live 45 minutes away from the nearest movie theater, as I was driving home, I was thinking about, okay, don't forget to mention this. Don't forget to talk about this. I definitely want to say something about that. And that list is all checked. Check. Yeah. Don't know why I feel like I needed to elaborate, but I thought it was a good metaphor.
Fair enough.
It wasn't even a metaphor.
It wasn't.
You know what I mean?
You're fine.
It was a fable. No.
Let me save you from yourself and just move on.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to edit that out. Bye. Click. 5 minutes later.
So Beetlejuice.
I'm sorry. I just have to say this real quick.
Man.
I love you, Steven. We are really good friends. But I just want anybody who listened to last week's episode on Beetlejuice, put in the comments if you noticed that 90% of that was stitched together by mine own hands. Because we had such a bad lag last week, my fault. We had such a bad lag last week that we were talking over each other when we didn't know that we were talking over each other. We were interrupting each other and everything was everywhere. Not only did I have to cut certain things out, I had to move parts of the conversation around so that they were spaced correctly like a real conversation. This took me 4 hours. It's the most I've ever worked on editing any episode. So please, I need to know comments, criticisms, anything you've got, because it is kind of my masterwork. It's my gift of maximum effort to everyone in the audience and to Stephen and Brett, because I think all of those people deserve it.
That's going to be the one he's remembered for, folks.
I hope so, because you know what I need to do is I need to just post it without any edits, and then you motherfuckers would appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Very maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Very maybe.
Sorry. Beetlejuice. What now, Stephen?
Beetlejuice opened Thursday, September 5th, which as of this recording is 2 days ago, as of this episode airing a week ago. As of right now, only the Friday box office numbers are in. It has earned so far in its opening day $41.5 million.
Nice.
In second place so far is Deadpool and Wolverine in its was 43rd. Oh, this is just the daily chart because I can't fucking get the weekend chart yet because I don't have one. In its 43rd day in release, has earned over $600 million, almost $610 million domestic. In third place, Reagan, the Dennis Quaid, Ronald Reagan biopic, which has been open for about a week now. It's down in third place. In fourth place, It Ends With Us, a movie that dares to ask the question, what if it ends with us? That's that Blake Lively movie, who's really hot for being Ryan Reynolds' wife right now.
Oh, and that movie is getting by just on the controversy, I feel like.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's like a whole feud between people and stuff, and that's all people are talking about it, and that's why anybody saw that movie, I feel like.
Look, as Hollywood doesn't care as long as there's butts in seats.
Yeah, dude, I like butts, and I like seats, so
Hey.
I'm into it.
And then in fifth place, Brett's favorite movie that he saw in the past week, Alien Romulus.
Hey.
Accurate.
Fede Alvarez, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Fede Alvarez.
The man who gave us the Evil Dead remake. See our previous episode on the Evil Dead remake.
And
or I guess not remake, reboot, whatever.
And don't breathe.
Don't breathe. I know just that you're breathing. We also have The Forge in sixth place. Twister is in seventh. And then coming in later, we've got Trap, Despicable Me 4, the aforementioned Despicable Me 4, and Afraid, that weird AI movie with James Cho.
Yo, Trapped is kind of just hanging on. Is just making just enough money every week to stay in the theaters. And like,
Trap is fun.
I might still go see it.
I liked Trap. Trap's like my second favorite movie of the year so far, after Challengers.
Nice. Well, I have to go see it then, because I did go to see it.
We know.
I did make that journey, but I did not. The destination, I was not there.
Didn't quite get there.
Nope.
My
keys were trapped in my car.
Right.
A joke that Brett helped me out with there.
Yep. You're welcome.
Workshop that.
At the darkest time in my life, Brett comes in with the humor, and I appreciated it for sure.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
The current tomatometer score is a 77%. The critics' consensus, Michael Keaton's devious poltergeist still has plenty of juice left in this madcap return to form for Tim Burton, marrying charming practical effects and ghoulish gags to provide a fun time. And yes, they did put fun twice. Yeah.
Don't want to say it 3 times or you'll have fun.
Fun will show up, right?
Yeah. Hello, I'm fun.
Ah!
It's me, fun.
No! The Metascore is a 62 based on generally favorable reviews from 58 critics. So we seem to be in the minority on this one. At least Tucker and I do. Brett, again, you're right. We're wrong. And Tucker, want to take a stab at the Letterboxd score for this one?
It's going to be in between 3.3 and 3.7.
It is a 3.5, literally right in between.
Yeah, dude.
Well
I'm
done.
back, baby. I'm back.
Huzzah!
Right back on top of things.
And so while you're talking, Tucker, what is your score out of 5 stars?
This is going to be a 2.5, and I think I would like to revisit it because my expectations are different before I see it than they are after, and I do think that I'm going to enjoy it a little. I'm still going to have the same problems with it when I watch it again, but I think I'm going to be able to relax and enjoy it a little more, the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because the first time I watch something, I feel like I have the critical glasses on.
Yeah.
But then once I kind of figure out how I feel about the movie, I can just kind of sit back and maybe turn my brain off a little bit more and have a good time.
Right.
So I don't know that I'm going to purchase this film. I probably won't buy this movie, but over the next 10 years, I might watch it 2 or 3 times on streaming, is what I'm saying.
There you go. Brett, I know you've said it already. Has our discussion changed your opinion at all?
Tempted to give it a 3.5, but I'll stick with a 3.
Okay. And I'm also sticking with a 2.5. So there we are. That is for a average score of 2.6 repeating. That is kind of where we lie on Beetlejuice. What did you think of Beetlejuice? Let us know either in the comments over at patreon.com/disenfranchised, the official conversation of the Disenfranchised podcast. You do not have to pay us 1 cent to be a part of that tier. To be a part of that conversation, just head on over and let us know. You can also shoot us an email at disenfranchpod@gmail.com and let us know what you thought of Beetlejuice. We may read those comments on our next episode. You can also find us on some social media platforms at disenfranchpod. Good luck. And what else do I normally say at this point? If you pay us $5 over at patreon.com/disenfranchpod, you get access to like days worth of content, podcasts that we've recorded, other fun stuff over there. And you can also head over while you're online to wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts or Spotify in particular. Leave us a nice juicy 5-star rating and review, a Beetlejuicy 5-star rating and review to help us find other listeners like yourselves. I am Stephen Foxworthy. I've been your host on this journey. You can find me at some social media platforms at Chewy Walrus. Buy my book, Check In, Check Out on Amazon. And Brett, where can we find you on socials these days?
Pretty much nowhere. I'm
right
on. Kind of on Letterboxd. I'm kind of on Instagram. It's sus_Warlock on those places. If you want to come find me, I don't fucking care.
He doesn't. He really doesn't fucking care. He's not just blowing smoke up your asses. He does not care.
Social media sucks.
It does, objectively, which is why we're barely on it anymore. Because,
I mean, TikTok counts, I guess, but I'm not making content.
I was going to say you're not making shit on TikTok. We just spend hours scrolling on TikTok. That's what we do.
Very much.
And Tucker, where can we find you on the socials these days?
Not on TikTok, that's for sure. But you can find me on Instagrams and YouTubes at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. Also, Tuck Mugs is still going strong. Tuck_Mugs. We just had one a couple weeks ago. We had an original post. I posted my most recent Lincoln Square mug that Steven was with me when I got.
True.
The design is different. Like it's instead of being a tall, thin boy, it's a short, stout boy. But I feel like it holds the same amount of liquid. I might test that out, put water in one and move them back and forth between the two to see if it's anyway, I still have Jimmy's post that I'm sitting on that I just need to find time to punch it up real quick, but that should be coming sometime this week or next week. Things have slowed down quite a bit for me, but the weekends are still a lot. So hopefully not only can I get some more Tuck Mugs out there, I can finally get those What Are We Watchings out there, and we can maybe record some more, because I miss recording What Are We Watching. I love recording the main feed, but I love just like bullshitting with you guys about random shit that we've watched.
You really do.
I really like that, and my list is long. I think we are gonna have to do just like we'll all three be there, but it'll just be my list. And then like if you guys each need an episode too, we'll do that the following weeks.
I have a feeling the next one is going to just be me and Brett like doing ours together, and then there's just an entire episode of just Tucker going, and then I watch this, you guys, and then I watch this, and every now and again, Brett and I will just be like, oh cool,
yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh man, that's
wow,
impressive, boy, you're so rad.
Tucker, you just did a spot-on Stanley Spadowski impression. Like the head movement you did with you did that naturally. Like it was great.
Thank you. I'm glad you appreciated that. Big influence on my life, Stanley Spadowski.
One of the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that, friends, is our first ever episode, the end of our first ever episode of Re-Enfranchised. If any other movies that we've ever covered get made into get sequels or become the actual franchises that they were hoping for, we'll do more of these. If there's a sequel to Beetlejuice, which I guess will depend on how the rest of opening weekend goes, we'll cover it because we are honor bound now at this point. So it'll be another re-enfranchised.
I don't know how much this means. Probably nothing. Who knows?
Probably not.
But Tim Burton is on record in an interview is saying, look, this one took, was it 36 years to make? So, you know, in 36 more years, I'm going to be too old. So I wouldn't count on another one.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be another one either. At least not with the original cast or anything, which was something I considered while I was watching this. As much as I loved the return of Beetlejuice, I was hoping that, I knew they wouldn't do this, but how cool would it be if they just completely recast Beetlejuice and whoever they recast as him just nailed it? And Beetlejuice could be anything. I mean, like, as far as we know, before this film came out, he doesn't always look like that, you know, like maybe he can shapeshift or like turn into different people, different ethnicities, different genders and sexes and stuff. Like, how cool would that have been? Of course, in this film, we learned that he has like an origin story, and that's what he looks like. He looked like in real life,
right?
Minus the mold, obviously. But
he lived through the Black Plague. Who knew?
Yeah. It would have been cool to see
Beetlejuice
some
reliable narrator.
Find some other comedic actors that have the same energy as Michael Keaton did during the original, and maybe just have 2 or 3 of them just have a go at it, and just make Beetlejuice be able to shapeshift, and even have Michael Keaton in it to where, like, at the beginning he's like, you know, I'm gonna shed this form, you know, and he turns into something else, and it's like the same character but just like slightly different, because I just think that would be cool.
Lord. God.
Yes, like the Doctor Who gives a shit. Yes, kind of like that, to where like every time he comes back, like sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's a person of color, most of the times it's just a different white guy. But you know, to have that would be, I'd watch a Beetlejuice show where like every episode he is a different comedic actor putting their own spin on it. You get like a Dietrich Bader up in there or something.
And Keaton's only in the first episode for 5 minutes.
Yeah, where he decides to, you know, switch things up a bit, and then immediately turns into, I don't know, Jeffrey Combs.
Okay.
I only
very different energy, but okay.
Well, when I've got Jeffrey Combs on the brain because when we were talking about the guy who plays the priest in this, the only person that I know of that has that much control over a facial performance is Jeffrey Combs.
You know who I could see doing a Beetlejuice riff? Charlie Day.
Oh yeah, I could see it. There's a couple lady comedians I could see a Natasha Lyonne. That would be great. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I'd watch the fuck out of that.
For sure.
Like, you get some inspired casting choices, some people that you know are just gonna knock it out of the fucking park, and just do like a 6-episode miniseries, and I would just watch the shit out of that. I really, really would.
And I'm just like, I'm in my head, I'm playing like iconic Doctor Who regenerations, but with Beetlejuice instead. And
yes. David Tennant as Beetlejuice.
I don't want to go.
I'm kind of partial to the Christopher Eccleston Beetlejuice myself, but that's me.
That's true. Beetlejuice 11 is my Beetlejuice.
Right, yeah. Right.
The 11th Beetlejuice is my Beetlejuice.
Yes.
You know who else I think would be a very different kind of thing, but I think he could also pull it off because he's got the manic energy of Beetlejuice, is a Nick Cage.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see a Nick Cage Beetlejuice.
He would really bring something to it, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Particularly like a late stage, long legs Nick Cage, 100%.
I feel like Nick Cage is giving his all in every performance, but I also feel like that he's always holding back a bit because he knows that if he went any further, it wouldn't fit the tone of the film. And so something like Beetlejuice where you just let that motherfucker loose.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, dude. Yes.
That's some juice I would like to see let loose.
Absolutely. Loosen the juice.
You would want to see play Beetlejuice in this weird television show idea.
Miniseries.
Yeah. Who are some actors or actresses that you would like to see play the Juice? As we franchise this thing out Alex Brightman is the obvious choice. You don't have to say that one. He's already played the role. We know he's good. He would probably be in the first episode just to like quiet people down, and then we can riff on some really fun casting choices after that.
Yeah,
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, dude.
That is our episode on Beetlejuice from 2024. Join us next week for our 200th episode. We've been doing this for 4 whole years, and this is going to be our 200th ever episode. So we've got I dare I say, a fun movie planned, at least fun to talk about, I'm sure, if not fun for us to watch. Will be fun to talk about. So join us next week for that. In the meantime, I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy, for my co-hosts, Brett Wright and Tucker. Until next time, MacArthur Park is melting in the dark, all that sweet green icing flowing down.
Someone shut the fence off in the rain.